When I speak of Africa, I do not speak of borders. I speak of one soul scattered across continents, the same blood that built pyramids, survived ships, and now beats in Harlem, Lagos, Kingston, and Ouagadougou alike. We are not separated by oceans, we are connected by memory. And that memory, attuned of resistance, of dignity, of divine strength, is awakening once again. For too long, we have been told that freedom was granted, but freedom cannot be granted, it must be reclaimed. Our ancestors were not freed by mercy, they were freed by courage. That same courage must now guide us into a new battle, not fought with rifles, but with economics. Today, the battlefield is our currency. For decades, our nations have produced gold, yet borrowed coins. We have exported diamonds, yet imported debt. We have built the world's wealth, yet remained poor. And every time an African leader dares to ask why, they whisper from the West, "Be careful, stay in your lane, remember your debt." But I say no more, because our continent will never be free if our money is printed elsewhere. We cannot speak of sovereignty when the signature that defines our economy belongs to the IMF. We cannot speak of independence while our own resources finance our oppression. This is why we dream, not of charity, but of a pan-African currency, a currency that carries the symbol of unity, not the stamp of dependency, a currency that cannot be manipulated by distant banks, but is shaped by the hands of Africans themselves. They fear this dream because they understand its power. A united African currency means a united African future, a marketplace of 1.4 billion people controlling their own wealth, their own destiny. They know that the day Africa controls its currency, the world order shifts. No more cheap gold, no more stolen oil, no more interest chains. So yes, they fear this vision, because it will free not just Africa, but every descendant of Africa from New York to Nairobi. And when that day comes, every drum across the black world will beat as one, because Africa will have reclaimed the sound of her own heartbeat. My brothers and sisters, if we want to understand the need for a pan-African currency, we must first understand the currency of dependence that has kept us divided and poor. When we gained independence, we thought we had broken the chains, but the chains only changed form. They no longer shackled our wrists, they shackled our economies. They told us we were free, yet they still controlled our money. They told us we were sovereign, yet our budget still awaited signatures from men sitting in offices thousands of miles away. They told us we were independent, yet every loan, every import, every project still came stamped with their approval. This is not freedom. This is financial colonialism wearing a polite face. When a nation cannot decide how much its own currency is worth, it is not sovereign, it is supervised. When a people cannot use their own gold to stabilize their money, they are not free, they are exploited. And who designed this system? The same powers who colonized us, renamed us, and rewrote our history. They built a monetary order where Africa could only play the role of the borrower. They gave us the CFA franc, not as a gift, but as a leash. One that connects 14 African countries to the French treasury even today. Every coin we print must first be approved in Paris. Every reserve we keep strengthens the economy of our former masters more than our own. We trade in their language, bank in their systems, and measure our success by their standards. Tell me, how can a man be free if his heartbeat must be measured by another's pulse? When I speak of creating a pan-African currency, they say it is impossible, but I say it is inevitable. Because no continent can rise while its economy kneels. They call it risky. Of course they do. Because they fear the day Africa stops asking for permission to prosper. They fear the day we realize that the paper they lend us was printed from the gold we sold them. They fear the day our unity turns their debt into dust. My brothers and sisters across Africa, across the Caribbean, across America, the time has come to reclaim what belongs to us. We have the resources, the talent, the youth, and the courage. What we lack is not capacity, it is control. And that is why we fight, not against nations, but against systems that disguise submission as cooperation. Because the currency of dependence is not made of money, it is made of fear. And I promise you that fear is breaking. Let us now speak of the CFA franc, the clearest symbol of economic servitude still haunting our continent. They called it the franc of the French colonies of Africa, and though they changed the name, the chain remains. Decades after independence, 14 of our nations still use a currency that answers to Paris. Our reserves, our exchange rates, our monetary policies, all decided under the watchful eye of those who once ruled us. Do you understand what that means? It means that when a farmer in Ouagadougou sells his cotton, when a woman in Abidjan opens her small shop, when a miner in Niger extracts gold, the value of their labor is still tied to a foreign treasury. They told us the CFA franc would bring stability, but tell me, stability for whom? For the African worker or the French banker? The system was never built to protect us, it was built to control us. Every coin that circulates in West Africa carries the shadow of a contract written without our consent. When France devalued the CFA in 1994, did they ask our people? Did they consult our farmers, our traders, our governments? Number. They decided alone, and our economies collapsed overnight. And yet, they still call it partnership. They say it keeps inflation low, that it encourages foreign investment. But I ask you, what good is foreign investment if it comes at the cost of national dignity? How can our youth believe in their future if their nations cannot even print their own money without permission? How can we claim sovereignty when our treasuries are guarded by another flag? My brothers and sisters, the CFA is not just a currency, it is a reminder of what happens when we confuse independence with permission. That is why they fear the rise of a pan-African currency, because it will mean the end of this dependency. It will mean that when Africa trades with Africa, it will no longer be through Paris or Washington, but through unity and mutual respect. We are not against France. We are against domination. We are not against cooperation. We are against submission. The day will come when the farmer in Mali and the fisherman in Senegal will trade using the same African currency, one backed by our own gold, our own will, and our own pride. And on that day, the world will understand that the true wealth of Africa was never in her resources. It was in her freedom. Every generation must pay a price for its freedom. The question is not whether the price exists. It is whether we are willing to pay it. When we decided to take our destiny into our own hands, we knew it would not be without consequence. The system does not reward those who reject it, it punishes them. They warned us, if you do not bow to our institutions, you will be isolated. They threatened, if you do not follow our policies, you will lose aid. And we replied, if our dignity costs your approval, we will pay in dignity. We were told to accept loans to rebuild our roads. We said no, we will build them with our own hands. We were told to let foreign companies exploit our gold for development. We said no. Our gold will serve our people first. And when we said these words, we were called dangerous. They labeled us rebels, radicals, nationalists. But tell me, since when did loving your homeland become a crime? The truth is, liberation has always frightened empires. Because the moment the oppressed stop fearing hunger, stop fearing isolation, stop fearing sanctions, they become unstoppable. I look across Africa today and I see nations ready to rise, leaders ready to stand, and youth ready to take back what was stolen. But the system knows this too. That is why it tries to divide us by race, by religion, by border, by ideology. Because united, we are an earthquake. Divided, we are statistics. Every time an African nation seeks self-reliance, they send their messengers. They come in suits with smiles, speaking of democracy and development. But behind those smiles are contracts. Behind those handshakes are chains. We must understand the road to true independence is not paved with comfort, it is paved with resistance. When Burkina Faso chose to walk this road, we did so with the spirit of Sankara in our hearts. We knew we might lose support, we might face sanctions, we might even face war. But better a poor nation that owns itself than a rich colony disguised as a republic. Liberation demands courage, but courage demands unity. No man, no leader, no country can fight alone. And so I call upon every African youth listening to me now. Your generation must be the one that finishes what our ancestors began. Because freedom, my brothers and sisters, is not a gift to be received. It is a fire to be kept burning, no matter how strong the wind. The battlefield has changed. Once our enemies came with guns and flags. Today, they come with graphs, interest rates, and fine print. This is the new war, the war for economic sovereignty. They no longer need to invade our lands, they invade our markets. They no longer need to steal our gold with force, they buy it with debt. They no longer need to occupy our capitals, they occupy our budgets through financial institutions that claim to help. The IMF, the World Bank, the endless cycle of reforms, all are part of a silent strategy to make Africa dependent forever on borrowed hope. Each loan they offer comes wrapped in beautiful words, growth, stability, development. But look closely and you'll see the invisible ink of control. They dictate what we can spend, how much we can import, what we can export, and who we must sell to. This is not aid, it is economic warfare. When a nation loses its ability to make economic decisions without approval, it becomes a colony again, not by force, but by finance. I have seen the reports they send us. Thick, polished documents filled with statistics and conditions. They say, privatize your electricity, sell your mines, cut your social spending. I ask them, how can a country grow when you cut the roots that feed its people? They reply with silence, because they know the truth. The moment Africa becomes self-sufficient, their empires will crumble. That is why they fear leaders who speak of unity, of gold-backed currencies, of regional trade without the dollar. They know that a free Africa means an Africa that no longer bleeds for the wealth of others. And yet, my brothers and sisters, the solution is not in hatred. It is in understanding. We must study their system better than they do. We must build financial institutions of our own. African banks, African credit systems, African currencies, because only then can we fund our dreams without signing away our souls. They may call us defiant, they may call us radicals. But remember, every revolution begins with those words. We do not seek to destroy the global order. We seek to balance it, to build an Africa that trades with dignity, partners with equality, and stands with pride. Our ancestors fought to free our land. Now we must fight to free our economy. Because the chains have changed shape, but the mission remains the same: liberation. Something powerful is happening across Africa. I can feel it in every march, every classroom, every farm, every heartbeat. The continent is awakening. For too long, they told us that unity was impossible, that we were too divided, too poor, too unstable to stand on our own. They repeated this lie until some of us began to believe it. But today, we are rewriting that story. From Dakar to Nairobi, from Bamako to Lusaka, from the Caribbean to the streets of Harlem, a single message echoes: Africa is no longer asleep. This awakening is not just political, it is spiritual. It is the realization that our future will not be built by permission, but by participation. It is the fire that lights up every young African who says, I will not leave my country, I will build it. They used to say that our dreams were too big, but now they fear how quickly those dreams are becoming plans. The youth of Africa no longer want charity, they want challenge. They no longer want handouts, they want hands joined in purpose. Everywhere I travel, I see hope wearing the face of courage. I see students learning not to escape their land, but to enrich it. I see farmers uniting their resources, engineers designing solar grids, and women leading cooperatives that feed entire towns. This is the new Africa, an Africa that no longer waits for saviors because she has remembered she is her own savior. They fear this awakening because they know that when the minds of the youth and the wisdom of the elders unite, there will be no force strong enough to stop us. This is the meaning of our revolution. Not the sound of guns, but the sound of ideas breaking chains. I call upon every African in the diaspora. Your roots are calling you. Your energy, your skill, your voice are needed now more than ever. Do not see Africa as a place of the past. See it as the center of tomorrow's world. We will not win this battle with anger, but with awareness. Not with vengeance, but with vision. Our continent has slept long enough under the weight of exploitation and false promises. The dawn has come, and this time the sun will rise from Africa. Because when Africa awakens, humanity will finally stand upright again. The future of Africa will not be imported, it will be created. When I speak of a Pan-African future, I do not speak of dreams written in the clouds. I speak of foundations built by our own hands, our own sweat, and our own intelligence. For too long, Africa has been treated as a project, not a partner. Every summit we attend begins with promises of assistance, but ends with documents of dependence. But now we are no longer asking for help, we are building our own house. This new Africa will not be one of borders and barriers, but of bridges and brotherhood. We will trade in our own markets, educate in our own languages, and rise on our own terms. Imagine an Africa where a student in Ghana studies the history of Mali's empires, not just Europe's revolutions. Imagine a scientist in Dakar building solar technology with minerals from Congo and funding from Addis Ababa. Imagine an engineer in Ouagadougou designing irrigation systems that link our rivers so no African child goes thirsty again. That is Pan-Africanism in motion, not a slogan, but a system. When I speak with our youth, I tell them, stop waiting for the future to arrive. You are the future. You are the new Sankaras, the new Nkrumas, the new Lumumbas, born into an age where the fight is no longer for land, but for direction. The world fears an Africa that thinks, organizes, and acts together, because such an Africa will not be controlled, it will be consulted. And so when we speak of a Pan-African currency, a Pan-African defense system, or a Pan-African university, we are not dreaming, we are planning. We are not competing with the world. We are competing with the limits they set for us. Let no one tell you that unity is impossible. Every empire said it was impossible until it happened. Every revolution was called madness until it became history. My brothers and sisters, our strength is not in what we possess, it is in what we believe. Believe that the African child deserves the same access to technology as the child in Tokyo. Believe that our gold can back our currency, not theirs. Believe that our destiny cannot be outsourced, because the future of Africa will not be written by those who doubt it, it will be written by those who build it. My brothers and sisters, Africa's story has always been told through her resources: gold, diamonds, oil, cobalt. The world knows what lies beneath our soil, but what they do not understand is what lies within our spirit. For decades, we have been told that our gold must be stored abroad, our reserves must be secured in foreign vaults, and our wealth must be measured in dollars or euros. But tell me, how can a continent so rich be called poor? How can a people with more gold than any empire be told they need aid to survive? This is the great deception. They take from us and lend it back with interest. They strip our mines, then sell us development programs. They tell us to save in their banks, then dictate our policies in return. But Africa's gold is not just a mineral, it is a mirror of our dignity. Every ounce represents the sweat of our miners, the labor of our ancestors, the legacy of kingdoms that once ruled trade routes from Timbuktu to Axum. When I say we will use our gold to back our own currency, they panic. They call it reckless, dangerous, unrealistic. But what they fear is not risk. They fear resistance. They fear an Africa that no longer stores her wealth in European banks. They fear an Africa that no longer borrows its own money. They fear a continent that no longer trades its gold for paper but for power. Because gold, my brothers and sisters, is not just metal. It is memory. It is the proof that Africa has always been capable of greatness. Look back to the empires of Mali and Songhai, their gold-fed civilizations when Europe was still in darkness. That gold built cities, funded education, and inspired global trade. Now imagine that same spirit reborn, not through conquest, but through consciousness. Imagine a Pan-African currency backed not by empty promises, but by the real wealth of the continent. A currency that says to the world, we are not beggars, we are builders. This is not a dream, it is a return to truth. Because dignity cannot be printed, it must be mined, protected, and shared. When Africa's gold serves Africa again, no nation will ever call us dependent. And when our currency reflects our worth, no voice will ever silence our pride. This, my brothers and sisters, is not just economics. It is the beginning of redemption through sovereignty. This struggle cannot be fought with guns alone. It must also be fought with ideas, with research, with knowledge. The war for Africa's sovereignty is not just in our minds or borders. It is in our classrooms, our banks, and our laboratories. That is why today I speak directly to Africa's economists, scholars, and thinkers. You are not just analysts of numbers, you are the architects of freedom. For too long, we have imported economic theories that do not understand our soil, our people, or our potential. We have taught our children formulas that made them servants to systems that enslaved us. But I ask you now, will we continue to quote foreign textbooks while our markets cry for liberation? Will we continue to apply models that were designed to keep us poor while calling it progress? The African economy must be studied through African eyes. It must be modeled by African minds. I dream of universities where young economists calculate not how to repay debt, but how to replace dependence. Where business students learn not only profit, but purpose. Where innovation means building tools that feed our people, not just markets that feed corporations. Our gold, our land, our youth, these are not commodities. They are capital in its truest form. And so I call upon our scholars, build the frameworks of our future, develop new currencies, new financial systems, new trade policies that serve Africa, not Europe or America. If we must create a Pan-African bank, then let it rise from the minds of Africans who understand the struggles of their people. If we must create an African currency, then let it be shaped by those who know the value of sweat before statistics. Our enemies may have more machines, but we have more meaning. Every African economist, engineer, farmer, and teacher must understand, you are part of this revolution. Because when knowledge becomes conscious, it becomes power. Do not fear failure, fear submission. Do not wait for permission. Design solutions that defy it. We do not lack intelligence, we lack independence of thought. And when that independence is achieved, no IMF report will define our worth again. No foreign rating agency will measure our progress. No colonial economist will write our destiny. Because the future of Africa will not be calculated in Washington. It will be created in Africa. My brothers and sisters, we have walked through centuries of struggle. We have seen our land divided, our names erased, our gold stolen, our leaders silenced. But even in those darkest nights, Africa's fire never died. Today, I stand not as a man above others, but as a voice among millions, a generation that refuses to forget what freedom truly means. We are no longer begging for a seat at the table. We are building our own table, one made from African wood, African labor, and African dreams. The IMF may dictate, the World Bank may threaten, and the media may twist our words, but they cannot twist our destiny, because the future of Africa does not belong to those who exploit it, it belongs to those who believe in it. When I speak of unity, I do not mean sameness. I mean strength in diversity. The Hausa and the Zulu, the Akan and the Berber, the diaspora in Harlem and the farmers in Bamako, we are one people bound by one truth. Our dignity is not for sale. We have learned that the fight for sovereignty is not a sprint, but a relay. Our ancestors ran the first laps with chains around their ankles. Now it is our turn to carry the baton with courage. And to the youth of Africa, I say this: the world will try to make you forget who you are. They will flood your screens with distractions, drown your pride in propaganda, and sell you dreams that lead you away from home. Do not let them. Lift your head, learn your history, and remember, your ancestors did not survive slavery, colonization, and exploitation for you to bow now. We are standing at the crossroads of history. One path leads to continued dependence, a future where we trade our minerals for promises, our youth for visas, our future for crumbs. The other path leads to liberation, a future where our gold, our ideas, and our courage fuel a new civilization. That is the future Africa deserves. A future where our scientists build satellites, our farmers feed the continent, our entrepreneurs power our cities, and our children learn under flags that truly represent them. And yes, this journey will not be easy. They will come for us, not with armies, but with manipulation, sanctions, and lies. But remember this: when they fear your unity, it means you are close to your freedom. So stand tall, my brothers and sisters. Stand for the Africa that dreams, builds, and rises without apology, because the day we no longer ask to be understood and simply lead, that is the day the world will understand Africa's true power. Our destiny is not a question mark. It is a promise written in our blood, guarded by our ancestors, and ready to be fulfilled by us. Africa, rise, your time has come.